Hello, Luke. Good video. A couple different things I wanted to touch on. The idea of equal rights. It's the classical liberal idea that we have to understand society in terms of individuals, which, I guess originally the idea was that each individual has inalienable rights given to them by their creator, and because of that, they can't be taken away by anybody else. These rights aren't something that governments allow us to have. They're inalienable. They can't be taken away because they aren't given by anybody besides our creator. Now, I know you're an atheist, so that creator language, you want to put that kind of under the carpet maybe, or just, define an individual in a different way, whatever you want to do. But the idea that morality is based on rights, I don't disagree with that formulation at all. I just kind of look at this in the sense, what about the community's rights? Because obviously human beings always, unless we're hermits or schizoids, we always live in groups, in communities. We gain our sense of meaning from the communities we live in, and so on. So rather than just define human morality based on the rights of individuals, I think to a certain extent we have to make room for the idea that people are individuals by virtue of the fact that they live together with others. And to some extent there's some shared responsibility, both that the community has for the individual and that the individual has to the community. But in practice, I'm all there with you about government power being minimalized and markets being unhampered by legislation that only benefits big corporations and all that. It's just that, I guess, philosophically, the idea that we can really break down the human species into these discrete little individuals, and each individual is somehow an island unto themselves, I think we run into problems there. What is life is another thing he brought up, because you talked about animal rights and how do we tell when we should provide rights to other animal species besides human beings. I mentioned autopoiesis. Look at the Wikipedia page or other pages on the internet. You'll get the idea that basically what distinguishes life from inanimate matter is that life is a chemical reaction which encloses itself in a boundary which it itself produces. And inside this boundary there are a variety of components that all serve a specific function, but that all together as a whole system give rise to each other. And something like a virus would not be considered life based on this definition, because a virus cannot survive without a host, which would be an autopoietic system. A virus in and of itself is just it's just RNA, and it's more like a machine than a living organism. And I think by virtue of the fact that we ourselves are living beings, we need to consume energy from other living beings. We need carbon and hydrogen and oxygen and so on that we can only get from organic matter, living beings, whether we eat plants, cows, chickens, whatever. We need to take a life in order to survive. So equal rights for all animals and living beings it's just impractical. It's impossible. That said, though, we can be reasonable about this. Americans, and I guess Canadians too to a certain extent, are addicted to beef. And there are many reasons that eating beef is a bad idea. First of all, cows are highly advanced organisms, mammals with limbic systems, emotional capabilities. They can suffer just about as much as a human being can suffer. So when we slaughter them, we are causing great harm to a living creature. Not only is there this problem with the inhumane treatment of cows, but also a cow eats 100 times the amount of grain that a human being requires, and so when we eat a cow, we're wasting a lot of resources, food resources, and getting the same amount of energy for it. Also, there's the global warming issue. Cattle, I think there's like 10 million of them in America alone. They fart a lot, and that flatulence emits more CO2 into the atmosphere than all the vehicles in the world combined. So our addiction to beef is a bigger contributor to global warming than our addiction to oil, and nobody talks about that. So many reasons exist why eating meat is a bad idea, not only for the rights of the animals, but for the sustainability of our earth. The idea that you have to be a rational being in order to get into this social moral system of having equal rights, I think that might work, but what is a rational being? Normally we probably restrict this to the idea that you can speak a language, you can give reasons for your behavior, you can be held accountable for your behavior, you can be held responsible. Animals can't talk, obviously, so based on this definition of what rationality or reasonableness or the ability to be responsible amounts to, if that requires language, then animals can't be a part of that system. But I don't think it necessarily does require language to be responsible. Animals, especially higher mammals, they respond to human emotional gestures, and I think it's easy enough to tell based on knowing the personality of a dog, say, how it's going to behave in a particular situation. So you can know that the dog will behave in a reasonable or unreasonable way based on your experience of that dog. So we can allow animals, I think, into this social circle of rights and morality if we lower the standards a little bit. So I'll leave it at that. I got to answer this call, but thanks for bringing up this issue, and thanks for listening. So take it easy.